So as you might know, I like to 3D print things. And a company named Kelant contacted me and offered to send over their largest resin 3D printer for me to check out and make a video about. So let's get started. So you might have seen my other videos talking about 3D printers that are resin based. And at the moment I'm gearing up to be able to print castable resin and actually start casting and show you guys how you can do that. But you kind of need a printer to do that. So one thing with this printer is it's a lot bigger than you'll probably need, but there are some pros to this. Seeing that you can make larger pieces if you really wanted to, or you can make a lot of pieces at one time. And this particular printer can actually print pretty quickly. But before any of that, let me show you some comparisons between this and some other printers that I have, just so you can get a feel for the sheer size difference in this one versus other common printers. So, as you can already see, there's a big size difference between these two already. So this is the build plate from the Elegoo Mars, and this is the one from the Kelant S400s. So you might notice a slight difference in size between these two, and by slight I mean about 4 times bigger. So one other major difference is the vat size. This is the one from the Elegoo, and this is the one from the S400s. So you can pour an entire 500 milliliter bottle of resin in this and be good to go and be printing for a long time without having to refill anything. So both of these have almost the same resolution screens, coming in around 2K. But the S400s has an 8.9 inch screen, which is kind of big for a resin printer at this price point. So for the Z-axis, it's using 2 linear rails and an anti-backlash screw to make sure that the movements are as smooth as possible and keep the whole thing nice and sturdy. One other thing with this machine, seeing how big it is when you get it in the box, it is actually flat packed. So the base is all together, but you do need to put all the rest of the top onto it. So it's not ready to use directly out of the box, but it comes with the instructions and all the tools needed. So all of the controls for this machine are right here in this touchscreen. So in tools, you can manually move it, calibrate it, set your Z offset, or just test it to see if your exposure is working for your LEDs. So in the system tab, you can find out the information to contact customer service and change your language, and that's about it. But most of your time is going to be spent in the printing tab. So here is basically the sample print for this printer. It's 3 bird cages, and this will be the first print I have done on this printer at all, so we'll see how this comes out. So before I can do any type of printing, I need to fill this up with 500 milliliters of resin. So this is just clear Elegoo resin. I'll be using castable resins in the future, but just for testing purposes, this will work. So there we go, and it could technically take even more resin than that, but I'll keep it safe and stay right here. Alright, so it's time to start the print. So just so you know, this is a time lapse of over 3.5 hours of print time. Alright, and here they are all done, but the problem is this is a really big build plate and I have nowhere to put it, so I'm going to have to basically take them off of here upside down, just for the time being until I get a better setup going. Alright, so here they are, and they're all covered in wet resin, so make sure you have gloves on, and now we need to clean them off and cure them. So this is the ANYCUBIC wash and cure system. Basically, it takes all the hassle and mess out of doing it all by hand, so you could just throw them into here and be done with it. And I'll have a full video about this in the future. So let me throw these in there and get them all cleaned off. So if you're wondering what the liquid is, it's just rubbing alcohol or 91% alcohol. You can also use 99% if you can find it. Alright, so now that that's done, I can take this off. Anytime working with resin, wear gloves and probably a actual mask and everything too, because this resin is really bad for you when it's not cured, and this is not cured. So I'm going to let this kind of drip dry for the most part, but I can show you one of my bird cages out of it. There we go. And it has a little bit of a weird spot here because of how the build plate is. And same thing on these, it's just from holes in the build plate. But this needs to all get taken down, and this needs to be sealed. Luckily, it comes with a little sealable top. And then you can keep this to use it for next time. Once it gets too cloudy in the alcohol, then you need to get rid of the alcohol. And to do that, put this entire container out in the sun for about a day or so. And it will basically turn all of the resin in here into cured resin, which is then safe to dispose of. So now there's some UV LEDs right here. And it comes with this little plate. So you can just snap it on like that, and then you can take your resin pieces and place it on like so. And then we're going to take this and put it back on top. And if you go down here, just push cure, and then these are pretty small, so I'll do 4 minutes, and I'll start. And after 4 minutes, it will turn itself off. All right, so that's all done now. And if you leave these in there too long, they will start to turn different colors and basically get sunburnt. But there we go. So if you wanted to, you can put these back in here laying down like that to make sure that they get UV light on the bottom of them. But these should be fine. All right, so they're all done and printed and cured and all that fun stuff. The only problem that all of them have is they were printed on the holes, so they're going to have little spurs on them. So these ones were printed on the actual bolt. So these need to be cut off. But other than that, these came out really nice. My white balance is going to be way off on this just because it's a giant black box, and then everything else is really lightly colored. But yeah, let me do some close-ups of these and show you how the print quality is. All right, so here's some really close-up video. You can see that it printed really nicely. Pretty much no lines or anything in it. And all of the little parts printed without problem. Little bird in there looks fine. It's on its little stand. Goes down inside there. And all this with no supports whatsoever. All right, so there they are. They're all done, and they printed out really nicely and pretty quick. And with that giant build area, you could print a ton of things or just really big objects. So all in all, this machine did a really good job. I have a lot more testing that I need to do with it to see what settings that I need to do, because these were printed using the test file that came with it. So they have the perfect settings. But I used whatever resin I had on hand, and it just worked. So that's one thing I'm gonna have to look at, is what to set everything for my own prints. Also, I'm not one of those people that like to print useless things, like these, for instance. I'm going to be using wax-like resins in here, and resins that I can burn off for casting. So if you're interested in that, I would subscribe to the channel, because there's going to be a lot of casting videos coming up. I'm not going to switch solely to casting, but I'm going to be playing with casting and showing you guys step by step how to cast things. And these are going to make it so much easier to make stuff, because I do 3D design also. So if you'd like to get one of these for yourself, they are just under $500, and you can find the link in the description, and there might be a working discount code that they provided me with. And it is a time-sensitive one. So depending on when you watch this, it may work, it may not. So just check out the description. All the details will be there, and they'll be updated when things change. So anyways, thank you, Kelant, for sending this over and letting me check it out and make a video about it. And I have a lot more I need to do with this. And I have some interesting ideas for some bigger stuff that I'm going to turn into jewelry. Well, other than that, if you want to see other videos on 3D printing or other resin printers, there's going to be a playlist here. If you want to see some jewelry tutorials, there will be a playlist down here. And that's about it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.